this video, we are working on only the questions found in the GMetrix Photoshop CC 18 test. We are working on GMetrix Photoshop CC 18 test 2. Task 1 says we are editing some photos for a client's magazine, and it's important for us to understand which types of editing is considered destructive and which ones are considered non-destructive. It gives us some examples and it wants us to match them. Using adjustment layers is going to be non-destructive editing. Making adjustments using the adjustments menu, that's going to be destructive editing. Using the clone stamp tool, that's destructive. Using masks, that's non-destructive, it can be undone. And then transforming a smart object can be undone, so we'll go ahead and select non-destructive editing. It's important for the certification test that you understand the difference between the two. We'll click next. Task 2 asks us which path will we use to add new colors to an existing swatch library. On the certification exam, you're not going to have Photoshop open, so you won't be able to test these. You'll just need to know. For this, what we want to select is Window Swatches. We'll click Next. Task 3 asks us which feature of the History panel allows you to quickly compare and revert to an earlier image state. The answer here would be Snapshot. We'll click Next. Task 4 tells us that we're working with a client's photographs, and we don't want to make any editing changes that would be permanent. The question asks us, what type of editing would I use if you wanted to preserve the original image data? For this, what we want to select is non-destructive editing. We'll go ahead and click Next. Task 5 asks us which of the 3 following scenarios are valid uses of the lasso tool. It tells us to choose 3. The first scenario is to group objects from separate layers together. You wouldn't use it for that, so it's not that one. To remove a selected area from an image, you would use the lasso tool for that. To make a selection, use content aware fill, you would use it for that. And then to make a non-geometric selection, you would also use it for that. So those are our 3 selections. We'll go ahead and click Next. Task 6 says, when applying a filter to a text layer, how can you ensure that a type's editability is not lost? Let's go and look at our options. Enable the type's editable permanence option. It's not that one. Ensure that a document is saved as a PSD file or a Photoshop file. It's not that selection either. Convert the type layer into a smart object. Yeah, that sounds right. And then rasterize the type layer after applying the filter. Rasterizing it would make it to where it can't be changed, so it's not that one. We'll go ahead and select convert the type layer into a smart object, and we'll click Next. Task 7 says, the client is not too happy with the character tracking for the font that you were using. Which of the following correctly describes character tracking? Changes the vertical scale of a block of text? It's not that option. Changes in the spacing between all characters in a block of text? It's that one. Which means the other 2 are not correct. The changing of the horizontal scale and changing the spacing between 2 letters of text. We'll go ahead and click Next. Task 8 says that we are editing a photo and one of the trees in the landscape would balance the composition better if it was farther to the right side of the frame. It asks us which of the following features would be the most effective to move the tree to the right side of the image. Let's look at our options. Spot healing brush is not correct. You'd use that for correcting like a pimple on a face or something similar. The magic wand would select colors that are similar, so it wouldn't be that. It's not the clone stamp tool. What we want to select here is content aware move. And we'll go ahead and click Next. Task 9 says, from the following options, which 2 are a benefit of using a linked smart object in Photoshop? It tells us that we need to go ahead and select 2. The smart object is automatically updated if the source file is changed. That would be one of the selections. The ability to perform non-destructive transforms without losing the original image quality. That is also a benefit of using a linked smart object. So we know that the ability to use tools for painting, dodging, burning, and cloning, and the ability to merge layers with a smart object are not the options that we want to select. We'll go ahead and click Next. Task 10 says, which of the following options is an added benefit of using a linked smart object over just using a smart object in Photoshop? And so what we're looking for is the difference between the 2. And the main thing about a linked smart object is it connects to a different file. So when that file updates, your smart object will also update with the original file. And so as we look through these look tempting, but the difference is this one. Smart objects are automatically updated if the source file is changed. So we'll go ahead and select that, and we'll click Next. Task 12 asks us which of the following is not a phase involved in the project plan. For this, we want to go ahead and select budget discussion. The other three are part of it, and we'll click next. Task 23 says it is important to consider copyright anytime you work on a project. Which of the following correctly describes copyright? The answer to this is going to be the exclusive right to copy, distribute, and profit from a work. All other answers are wrong. We'll go ahead and click next. Task 34 asks, which option is not a factor when determining which kind of images to include in your project for a target audience? We're looking for a target audience. Age of the audience is going to be important. Our own stylistic preferences is not going to be important. So we'll select that. The desired goals of the client is going to be important in the purpose of the project or content. So our answer here is your own stylistic preference. We'll go ahead and click next. Task 36 says, during the process of interacting with your client, which of the following would be deliverables you would need to provide as you work through the project? And it tells us that we need to choose two. Some deliverables that we would need would be design comps and project specifications. We'll go ahead and click next. Task 37 says, in the beginning of the visual design process, it's important to work closely with your client. Which of the following methods is a good way to quickly explore creative options and ensure you are creating something the client is happy with? For this, we need to look at this question beginning of the visual design process, because that's going to eliminate finalized concepts. And then it's going to eliminate working exclusively in a traditional format and digital format, because we're going to want to be flexible so that our client is happy. So what we're looking for here is making rough sketches. We'll go ahead and click next. Task 38 says, from the following choices, select the best definition of typography. The best definition out of all of these is the art and design of arranging type when choosing a font, font style, and color. We'll click next. Task 39 says, which of the following are best practices that should be done in Photoshop before placing the images in InDesign? It tells us to choose two. As I look through this list, I know flatten layers is not it. If you plan on placing text on the images, do this in Photoshop. I don't believe that's it. So let's look at these other two. Use the proof colors command to view a soft proof to see a more accurate preview of the final printed version. Yeah, that sounds like a great answer. And then making initial edits in RGB mode, then convert your image to CMYK mode and make any additional color and tonal adjustments. That's also a good selection. So we'll choose that and we'll click next. Task 40 says, you are getting dozens of images ready to be published on the web, and you need to make sure that they are in the correct color mode and the correct size while still maintaining the same ratio. Recording in action will be the quickest way to make changes to all of the images. Which of the following steps should you include in your action? It tells us to go ahead and choose two. So some things to note is that we're publishing this to the web, and as I'm looking through this list, I can quickly eliminate CMYK. And I can also eliminate using 300 DPI because you use RGB on the web. And when you upload images, you should use 72 DPI. So we'll go ahead and select constrain image portions when exporting. We'll click next.